What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. So thanks for joining me. And before we get into the topic, which is moving forward, like how to deal with the aftermath of being told it's over, or I want a separation, or I'm leaving, or any of that kind of stuff. But before we get to that, I just wanted to get a little bit of a backstory on you, like, in terms of your relationship history, divorce, breakups, all that kind of the major ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess, not to go too far back, but it all begins with like growing up in a single parent home. My mom was white, my dad was black. And so like as a kid, my mom used to hit me a little bit, but I outgrew her real quick and she just couldn't really hurt me,
Yeah.
size wise. And so she kind of switched up to, she'd get real irritated and use a lot of verbal abuse, like tell me I'm a stupid nigger and I'm never going to be anything. And just like all kinds of like all the stuff you want to tell your kids, it was like the opposite of that. Right.
Yeah,
So,
I had pretty similar, man. I mean, not obviously not the N word being thrown at me, but I mean, definitely a lot of verbal abuse and definitely physical abuse when I was little. But then, yeah, when you get bigger, they can't do that kind of shit.
yeah, exactly, man. And so, I think a lot of like my kind of relationship issues stemmed from that, because for once, like this woman that I'm supposed to be learning love from, like her love style is very abusive,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
so that kind of on a subconscious level became the norm to me. But then the other effects of that was just constantly feeling like I was never enough, because no matter what I did, like she'd get pissed, she'd go off on me, and so it was just like I couldn't win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always was coming back. So
Yeah.
no matter how good I did in school, if I listened, if I didn't listen, if I was home, if I wasn't home, like it was always just coming. So,
Yeah.
just that feeling, that insecurity of like never being enough kind of followed me throughout life. And, in and out of relationships as a kid, they were whatever, just looking for acceptance and also hormones raging, trying to have a good time. But
Yeah.
I want to say it's probably around, I got married in '06. So like probably around 2005, I kind of like had decided, you know what, I'm going to like quit dating and having sex for a year. And I actually did that.
Oh, wow.
Um, Met my ex-wife, and we hit it off. We dated for about 11 months and then got married, and that kind of started a 10-year marriage. And early on in that, we just had some differences that I don't know. I mean, a little background on that. We came from a church that was kind of like a jacked up church, and we'll save that for another day. But
God.
a long story short is any problems that we had, like the female kind of leaders in the church were telling her, well, I'm the head of the household, so it's on me. And the guys are telling me I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough, which sounds exactly like what I've believed all my life, is that I'm never enough, no matter how hard I try.
Yeah.
Uh,
Reinforcement.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so that was kind of a recurring theme throughout my marriage. And then also we had some differences, like kind of foundational, that I didn't recognize at the time, but like in hindsight, we're two different people. She's a great woman, like we're great friends today, but relationally it just wasn't there.
So
And
were you guys, was that a decision that was arrived at mutually, or did she make the decision to end it, or was it you?
actually it was me. And so like I talk about that never
Mm.
feeling enough, and like I just kind of fast forward to about like year 7, 8, like we were always fighting anyway before that, like from the beginning.
Mm.
But throw kids in the mix and we're still getting in fights, still getting in arguments. And I was just miserable. I mean, I would come home from work and I'd help put the kids to bed, and then I would jump in bed and pretend I'm going to sleep because I was working long hours. But
Yeah.
I'd sit there and like watch Netflix on my phone or something, or read a book on my phone. And when I heard her coming, I'd like a kid, I would hide it and pretend I was sleeping just because I didn't want to interact with her.
Yeah.
And at this point, like sex was probably like, I don't know, at best like 4 or 5 times a year, you
Wow.
know? And even at that point, like because of the fighting being so bad, like it was more of an obligation than anything else. And there was just like a loveless marriage, and like kind of the breaking point for me, because we had been fighting a lot, and my oldest daughter would start crying and be upset. And so like on multiple occasions, I begged her, like, look, we're going to get in arguments. Let's not fight in front of the kids. That's all I'm
Yeah.
asking for.
Yeah.
And it just kept happening and kept happening. So this would have been 2015. I went away for training for 3 weeks actually, and I came back, and me and my daughter were spending the day together. And mind you, like, she's not even 4 years old yet. This December, she was going to turn 4 in April.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember coming home from somewhere, and we were grabbing lunch and then going to go to the park. And my ex-wife started talking about wanting to go as well. And my little daughter says, no, mommy, I don't want you to go because you and daddy just fight all the time.
Oh,
And
wow. It's like
bro,
a
it,
dagger in the heart there.
yeah, it
Yeah.
broke everything inside me. And that was kind of the point where it was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, you know? And so that was like mid-December. We went up north on a family trip for a couple weeks, came back home. It was like January 1st or 2nd, but we got home at like 2 a.m. I helped offload everything, grabbed a bag, and was like, I'll be back for stuff later, you know?
Wow.
And
So you didn't have any, you probably didn't have as difficult a time moving on from that, because it sounds like you kind of already had in some ways, right? I mean, so it probably wasn't as difficult.
um, yes and no. Like it was really challenging because I had committed to this idea of a family and we had
Yeah.
kids. And so, you know, the first few years after that, actually, I was a wreck because there was part of me that, again, recognizing in hindsight, the love I had for my children and wanting to be that family unit,
Yeah.
it would get misplaced thinking like, oh, maybe it's like I still love her and I still miss her. And so we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and she was kind of open to trying to work things out, but it was, and you know, not to talk down on her, but typical problematic relationships, like, yeah, you can come back and I'm going to keep being me. Like,
Right.
you realize you're wrong, right? And it was like,
Right.
but no, like, I know I'm not wrong. And so like the couple times we attempted, like, she was still the same person. We still had those same differences that like I just personally couldn't move past.
So
Um,
did you find yourself trying to do, once you finally and ultimately severed, did you find yourself trying things to get over it, to to yeah.
yeah, man, like, and none of them were good ideas, but
Um,
I jumped like right into something else, man. And
yeah.
like, you know, like that was for years from then pretty much until about a year ago. So like a 3.5, 4 year span, it was alcohol and women, man. Like I was always drinking, but it wasn't, you know, we see these ads or these anti-alcohol campaigns where people are just like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm gonna go drink it away. It was none of that for me. It was just kind of like, hey, you know what, this is fun, I'm gonna do it. When in reality, like I won't say I was an alcoholic, but I was like definitely alcohol dependent for like
Yeah.
quote unquote peace of mind at that point. Like I drank because when I drank, I was just in the moment having a blast and I didn't have to think about all the stuff that was laying beneath the surface, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't really address any of the issues that I had going on personally, any of the issues that I had as a result of the relationship. Like all those things were just basically getting drowned out every night. And
Mm,
if it wasn't drinking, it was the next pretty lady. If not one or the other, then both. Like that was just
yeah.
kind of, that was the way of dealing with it. Like I can't feel sad when I'm laid up next to some beautiful woman, you know?
Yeah, true, very true.
Um,
So when did you eventually get in your next relationship? Or
uh,
next, I guess the next big one.
so right out of that, right out of my marriage, actually, I was with a chick for a year. It was a long distance
Mm.
relationship, and it was, it was kind of serious. Like I'll say that it was serious for her. um,
Gotcha.
and you know, me being who I was at that time, like I played the role, but the truth of the matter is like she lived on the East Coast, I were here on the West Coast, and like I had other girls that I was talking to, you know, and I would get into these relationships and lead girls to believe that like if they wanted to think they were number one, then that's what I told them, that they were number one. But I where I did have attachment, especially to that first girl, I had an attachment to her, but you know, again, in hindsight, I was just so damaged, like I couldn't really fully commit. And not to mention, like I said earlier, that there was part of me that was still kind of longing to fix what I had with my ex-wife. And
Mm.
so it was just this ball of shit, basically, that like rather than address it, like, hey, pop another bottle of Jameson, you know, like let's have
Yeah.
another drink, let's go another few rounds in the bedroom. And that was it, you know. So I went from that to, again, like I've always kind of been like that serial dater type dude. Like I have flings on the side, but like more like find a chick and stay with her for a little while.
Right.
So went through a couple runs of that. And, throughout all this, like I said, never addressing anything, it got to the
Yeah.
point where like strictly around my kids, and this is about like probably 2.5 years ago at this point, I just started getting real down in the dumps because like I missed my kids so much, and like I was still broken because I hadn't actually dealt with my marriage just falling apart. So it was just one of those things that like you drop a glass on the floor and rather than pick it up, you just like kind of try to walk around it, but keep cutting your feet or something.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and so all of that, I got to a point of just like really deep, dark depression, man. And that's a point where I would like sit with, a pistol in one hand and a bottle of Jameson in the other, and just drinking and thinking about suck starting this pistol.
Mm.
And, it was one night, just this clear as day voice in my head was like, "Hey, dummy, you're upset because you miss your kids. How often will you see them if you off yourself?" And
Mm.
it brought so much clarity, but only to the
Right.
suicidal thoughts. You know what I mean? It didn't fix anything. It just like made me realize, like, slam that door,
Yeah.
like bar it up, whatever, get the hell away from there. And so I'm not suicidal anymore, but I'm still just a wreck of a human being, man, like super depressed. And so
Yeah.
again, like find the next woman that likes to drink as much as me, and just repeat the cycle over and over. And at some point, this is probably about a year and a half ago, it's just like, man, I just keep repeating the same cycle of shit over and over and over. And it's like, I'm doing all this to get away from my ex-wife, who I'm still like telling lies to, like I owe her something, but it's like,
Mm.
no, I'm not dating, or no, I'm not sleeping with people. And it's like
Right.
causing conflict between us, and then making more issues trying to hang out with the kids. And
Mm.
it was just kind of a mess, man. And so I got to that point where I was just like, something needs to change. And I actually, like, I had been going to therapy, which, like, yeah, let's talk about your problems and then walk away and they're still there. Now you're just talking about them more.
Right.
Um and so like I would relive these like tragedies over and over, like watching the same movie over and over again. But I picked up a book that a buddy recommended to me. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy was the
Okay,
name
I
of
have
the
that
book.
one. I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
Yeah, and I can't remember the author. It's like
Yeah, I
Glover, I
can't
think
remember.
Donald Glover, maybe, whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But I yeah, I read that book though, and it was really cool because it brought like a lot more awareness to like some of the stuff from childhood that were potentially causing like me to act and feel the way I did. Uh, but again, like most therapies and self-help books, in my experience, it's like all this awareness with zero action, like, all right, now, figure it out. It's like, well, if I
Right.
could have figured that shit out, I would have done it already. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
And
But
is that when you came across, it was shortly after when you came across Justin and the Alpha Code?
it was about a year after that, actually,
Okay.
because I read that book. And so my timeline might be off a little bit, but I read that book, and,
Mm.
I didn't know then what I know now. So it was like, oh, I've got all this awareness, like I'm better. I
Right.
stopped dating for about 3 months and then entered into another relationship. And this is like, you've heard my experience with the past, Danielle.
Yes.
um, but I met this girl online and we hit it off day one, and uh, like, just kind of going off on a sidebar here, my own recommendation is don't sexualize a relationship like day one, day two. Like, take some time to like look for red flags, because
Yeah.
good sex covers up a lot.
Yeah, we're definitely going to cover red flags in the future because there are
Yeah,
many of them. And I can tell you, me personally, I've overlooked all of them just
yeah,
to fill that void and that hole that's there from your shitty childhood. I'm almost the
yeah.
same exact story.
You get to that point where it's like, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, I kind of see like maybe a tint of red, but she accepts me, so it's cool. Like, it's not
Yes.
that big of a deal, or it doesn't happen all the time. So,
Right. Right.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So anyway,
it's it's easy to overlook those things when you have someone just there. Sometimes I mean 3 months being on your own, I think I'm a little longer, but you get lonely, man, and
yeah,
sometimes it's like I'll take anyone to just hang out with me, and
yeah,
then if they start looking at you a certain way, treating you a certain way, yeah, it's so easy to overlook those red flags.
hmm
It's too
It's the
easy.
validation, man. Like you're
Yep.
being validated constantly. So
Exactly.
it's like,
Yeah.
must
So
be
you
all
can
right.
overlook those. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, so I entered into a relationship with her, man, and like things seemed great for a while. And one thing that I did notice, and I talked to her about a few times throughout even the beginning, is like her communication was really weird. Like
Mm.
we'd be mid text conversation and like she'd ask me a question, I'd respond and ask her something, she'd just disappear for hours, right? And me being like the insecure dude I was, it was always like, well, why are you neglecting me? Why are you not like feeding me? Like I'm asking you for this simple thing.
Right.
And she's just kind of like, sorry, like I was doing this, I'm focused on my kids, whatever. Like she
Right.
actually had valid excuses, you know what I mean? Some of it was her weird communication style.
Right.
But I definitely overreacted to it. And so, fast forward about 6 or 8 months, and there's a lot of other red flags in there,
Sure.
but we won't go too far into it. But
Gotcha.
the thing that was the kicker on that one that like caused a lot of heartache for me was because of my need to like always be validated, like right now, there was another girl that I'd hooked up with in the past, and me and her had always kind of stayed in contact. And to me, she was just like a backup plan, not even necessarily to sleep with or hang out with, just somebody that I could engage in conversation with, and she would validate me through conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Always would respond, always like, "Oh yeah, I miss you," like all that stuff that would just
Yeah.
feed the ego and make me
Mm.
feel good about myself.
Amen.
And so one particular night when my girlfriend Danielle was not responding to my text messages and I'd had a little bit to drink, so I started texting this girl and we went down the rabbit hole of just reminiscing about good times past, you know what I mean?
I hear you.
Um, Nothing that's acceptable for me to be talking about with another woman when I'm in a relationship.
I hear you.
And so through a series of unfortunate events and stupid decisions on my part, Danielle got a hold of these messages and actually got in touch with this girl who basically like drug me through all kinds of crap, like
Mm.
told her a lot of stuff about me, um, and just painted me to be like this piece of shit human being.
Yeah.
And Danielle, because of the messages she had seen, was already thinking I'm a piece of shit human being.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
like when that stuff came to light, like she blew up, she said some really hurtful, hateful things towards me and just like tried to really blast me. She even went as far as like to try to kind of call me out to some of my friends that have known me for years and know my life, but like she was trying to like slander me to them, and I don't know, I don't want to like talk too bad about this person, but she did some things that were like really
Yeah.
like way beyond what should have been acceptable in my life.
They can be vengeful.
Yeah,
I didn't she didn't do anything like reach out to friends or anything, but I was told some really heinous shit.
yeah,
Sometimes it sticks with you. It's the person that's supposed to love you and take care of you is sticking a fucking knife in your stomach. It's painful shit.
yeah. And the jacked up thing about it though is like as much as I recognize like this is jacked up, this is crazy, this is wrong, it's painful,
Yeah,
like it was still normal because go back to childhood. Like
yeah,
my mom, who's supposed to love me, tells me I'm a stupid nigger, and
yeah.
like
True, true.
apologize for the language. Like it's just to get the point across, But
Yeah,
like that's the woman that brought me into this world and is supposed to
yeah,
care for me more than anybody, and like
yeah.
I'm receiving that from her. So like again, it's on some level this stuff that was coming from my ex-girlfriend. It's like, oh, that hurts so bad, but like
It's
there's a
familiar.
part of me that normalized it. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah.
Um, and so after that happened, I'd reached out to her a couple times and like was like this kind of more to the point you were asking. Like I just like I lost everything with that one is how I felt. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
wanted her back so bad. Like I
Yeah.
needed her in my life. And so I made multiple attempts to reach out to her and she would just always respond with like hate and anger and rightfully so. Like what I did was wrong. I'm not justifying my behavior by any means.
Right.
Um, but it just got to the point where she's just like kind of she would respond to me if I reached out to her sometimes, but it was never like, yeah, let's work it out. It was like, yeah, you're still that piece of shit, And so
Yeah.
um because like I said, I read that book and thought like, hey, I'm doing better. Like I've got all this awareness now. And so I thought I was in a really good place. And then to take a fall like that, it was like jumping off the tallest mountaintop, and I was done. And so that's when like, I don't know. I mean, it had to be an act of God, because I'd started following the Alpha Code maybe like a year or two before, and just kind of on the fringes, but never really engaged at all. And even to the point where I actually had forgotten about it. I had to look back and see, like, how long have I been following this page?
Huh.
But right around that time, Justin happened to reach out to me, shot me a message, and I responded like, like, life sucks right now. This is going on. He's like, cool. Want to have a conversation, see if I can help you out, or however he worded it. But
Yeah.
long story short, we jumped on a call, and on that first call, I won't lie, like, I was a little bit skeptical, like, man, this is like somebody selling me some snake oil for a pretty hefty price. Like, but I was so desperate that it's like, I've got nothing left, and I can't continue to live my life like this. So I dove in, and I remember on the call, Justin told me, he's like, after we like kind of made the deal, he's like, be excited, man. Your life's about to change. And like, I don't know exactly how, but somehow I made myself get excited about it, and was like, yeah, my life's about to change. Like, let's do it. I'm all in. And
well, he has that effect on people too, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man.
So that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it actually, like, that was about a year ago, because I remember it was around Thanksgiving timeframe last year. So
I don't want to get into too many lessons learned in the Alpha Code, because there are many, and we only have a limited time until Zoom runs out. But what I don't like to do biggest, because I think that's too narrow. So maybe the top 3 things that you think you kind of learned from the Alpha Code that helped you in life in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Number one, like, hands down, is like emotional management, being able to, and I want to be very specific about, not control my emotions, because you can't control something that's going to happen. Like, I tell people this all the time. Like, when somebody scares the crap out of you, your body responds. You can manage what you do with that, but you can't stop what your body already does as a result of that, So I don't like to use control, but the management of it. So for me, that was like probably the single most critical thing, because I am a very emotional person. And, if I start getting sad, I'd get in my head and just go down that rabbit hole, to where like sadness becomes beating myself down, becomes like I'm worthless. And, I'm sure we can all relate to that spiral of emotions.
Oh yeah, I certainly can, for sure.
100%. Yeah. So for me, that's like hands down, that's number one. Number two, and again, not going into too many of the details within the Alpha Code, but like just doing the lean-ins and the live videos specifically. I like to message it like this: is that if I'm going to send you a message, like a video message or something, normally I'll record it, I'll watch it again, I'll refine it. And like, by the time you get what I'm sending you, you're getting like a product that's all like gift wrapped and polished. Right.
True.
Going live, it's like, no, this is me. Like, I never rehearsed my live videos or anything like that. I don't know if people do that, but I just had a thought.
Trying to think if I don't think I ever have. No, I think it's usually it hits you. I think, especially in the beginning for me, I think it was, I would make myself do it when when something would hit me, when I wasn't even like really comfortable. Maybe I shouldn't, but I had this thing and I need to talk about it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have. I don't think so though. I think, and I agree. That's the beauty of it. It allows you to be yourself, and then you get that support from everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what's powerful about it. There's nothing like it in the world, having those guys, yourself. I could name everyone in there, but the support is, it's amazing. It's life-changing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And rather than like, I make reference to like wearing masks. We all wear masks. And like, I used to go out, like, I got to be this person to this group of people, and this person for this group of people, because I just need to be accepted,
Yep.
And the live videos, what that did for me was like, I'm just going to be who I am right here, right now, in this moment. And like you said, all the support, all the feedback, it was validating me, but in a sense of like the actual me, not validating the mask that I'm holding up for you. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
And, that just helped me grow so much, and like feeling comfortable in my own skin and with who I am. And also with just expressing myself in general, like being able to take thoughts and make words out of them that people can understand, even though some of my videos did run pretty long at times.
Oh, you and me both, buddy. I've had definitely some 10, 12, 15-minute long videos. Easy.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I think those two were like probably the biggest. And like, I got to throw in there, it's hard to single it out, but like the, with the emotional management, like kind of the avoidance, like getting rid of avoidance strategies, those kind of went hand in hand for me.
Yeah.
And then I think the next biggest one was just like getting rid of anchors. And I really took that to heart and redid, like, I didn't remodel, like, I guess redecorated my entire house, like the living room, the bedroom, everything, and just got rid of all the old stuff and made it mine. I picked out stuff that I liked because I liked it, not because it made her happy or her happy. You know, it's like, this is what I want in here and people can accept it or not. And then just getting rid of little, like, you know, little keepsake memorabilia type stuff that reminded me of past relationships, like throw all that junk out, you know. And
so talk about that a little bit, because I don't think everyone knows what the definition of anchors in the Alpha Code.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So for me, anchors, it was okay. So for instance, long story short is my ex-wife and I bought this house together. She lived here for quite a while before she ended up moving out. And then I came back in, I was going to sell it, but then I'm like, yeah, I'll just keep it. Like I'm going to pay the same in rent for somebody else to own a house. But a lot of the, like the bedding and the living room curtains and all that stuff that we did together when we moved in, all that stuff was still here. And all of those things were anchors. They were just reminders of past relationships, reminders of past hurts, reminders of this girl or that girl. And then just along those same lines, like maybe, you know, I had this photo book that my first girlfriend out of my marriage, like me and her had started building this little kind of scrapbook, and I just kept it in the closet. Like, why, you know? And I would run into it sometimes and see it, and it just take that trip down memory lane. And without the ability to manage my emotions, it would become like, again, like, oh, there's another one I screwed up. She was a good girl, you know?
Right.
And even as I progressed, it wasn't always negative, but it would take my focus off where I'm going and have me like kind of wandering in the past again. So just things like that, things that for me, an anchor is something that draws me back to a time, not necessarily that I'm trying to forget, because there's a lot of lessons. Like my whole life has been a lesson, you know, but it stops me from getting drawn back into that, like emotionally, and stops me from focusing on those things. Like if I walk in the door every day and I see, you know, let's just say I had a picture of my ex-girlfriend hanging up, then as soon as I walk in my house, I'm going to be thinking of her. And so now like that negative energy becomes what I associate with my home. And now my home is a negative place. So any room I'm in, just like, it brings everything down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Well, that's a good segue, because that's I think one of the better strategies you can use when you are trying to move forward. Once everything's been settled and it's completely over, I think one of the best things you can do is get rid of those old anchors, get rid of pictures, get rid of anything, trinkets, picture frame. I mean, anything at all, pillows, sheets. Yeah, I did the same thing. I bought a new bed. I bought a new TV, like a new couch, anything that I could do just to. Now, I didn't do that right away. It took me a while to realize the importance of that, but it's incredibly helpful to get rid of those old memories, or at least put them away somewhere that you know, if you can get rid of it, get rid of it. If you can put it away so you won't see it for, you know, months or years at a time in an attic somewhere, then I think that's essential.
Yeah. And I'll admit, like my ex-girlfriend, Danielle, that I was talking about, she gave me a set of clippers, like, cause I shave my head all the time, you know? And I still have that because like I looked at it one day and I was about to throw it out and I was like, this is so practical, you know? And at that point I had matured enough to where it's like, I can detach the emotion from it. You know what I mean? But it like, that was for a specific purpose. Like other things that it's like, oh, I'd like to keep this, but why? It's just a reminder, you know, throw it out.
Yeah. So what are some of the other things you think that are useful in order to sort of, you know, get over the hump initially, just to sort of downplay the emotion of it, especially initially?
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of answer the first part of that question in reverse, because we think like, and we're taught this too, is like, oh, just get back on the horse, go find another relationship, go find the next girl. I think that is the absolute worst thing that you can do,
Oh, yeah.
because again, like we talk about, like for those listening, if you know or don't know what an avoidance strategy is, it's like I was talking about with drinking. It allows me not to have to focus on the real problem.
Yep.
And so if I'm hurting from a relationship and I go jump into another one, like I'm just shooting my endorphins back through the roof. So I feel like I'm happy. I feel like I'm good. When in reality, I'm just putting a band-aid on a bullet hole, because
For sure.
as soon as something goes wrong with that new one, then now I've got to deal with the emotion from that, as well as the emotion I haven't dealt with yet. And I guarantee you they're going to tap into each other. And it's like that synergistic effect. You know what I mean? It's even stronger now because I'm building a pattern of like, I'm not worth shit. I'm rejected. I'm whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
I think the key is to be by yourself, to work on yourself.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think, in terms of what to do is, it happens a lot. We kind of lose ourselves in relationships, and we lose aspects of ourselves that aren't always necessarily a bad thing. Like sometimes we have to sacrifice time. Like just to give an example, I like to throw knives and I like to shoot my bow in my backyard.
Mm,
And getting into a relationship, I have a little bit less time for that now, because it's like, okay, I need to do these other things so that I can make time for her later. And I think to some degree, like that's healthy for building a good relationship. And mind you, like now I'm in a relationship with a very emotionally mature and healthy woman. But
nice.
it's I think getting out of a relationship, like get back to those things that make you who you are. Like remember, what did I like doing beforehand? What were my hobbies? What have I like kind of pushed to the side to make time for this other thing? What have I neglected? And you might have to go way back, or you might have to find new hobbies. Like, I mean, during this whole COVID pandemic crap, like that's when throwing knives and shooting arrows, like became new hobbies of mine. But again, that was part of my process
Mm,
of getting over that jacked up relationship with Danielle, is that like I needed something to do that was productive. So it wasn't like, let me run from my emotion and go do this, because when I'm shooting an arrow, like I pull that thing back and it's like there can be a million thoughts in my head, but once I get locked in, it's like just silence, like just front sight and target, and that's it. And those moments of peace, like somehow it just brings all that emotion down to where it's like now I can deal with
mm.
this ball of energy rather than like it just overwhelming me. And so I think the number one answer to that, aside from like not bouncing to another relationship, would be like find hobbies and do things because you enjoy them, not because you're trying to please anybody else, just for yourself.
Yeah,
um
100%. Find things that you enjoy doing just by yourself, and it kind of reminds you
mhm.
that you can be alone. You don't need someone. It also shows, if in my view, if you find something you can do on a regular basis, like working out, it's a
Yeah,
commitment, then it starts building your self-worth back up, because you're sticking with it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You're reinforcing that, I am a good, or you're maybe starting to rebuild. I shouldn't say reinforce, but rebuild that I have worth. I can, okay, I'm hitting the weights 3-4 days a week, whatever it is,
yeah.
something to whatever it is, shooting the bow, running, whatever, just
Mhm.
something, anything that you can commit to that can help build you back up. That's one of the things I think we talked about in the Alpha Code group last night, is commitment, and how important it
Mhm.
is
Yep.
to building self-worth.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
besides those, I think we kind of talked about like things to avoid, which was another relationship. 100% agree with that one. I did that myself. Didn't
Yeah.
help at all. Nor did random sex with random women. That did not help at all.
You
I
just
mean,
carry all the same junk forward, like
yeah, for sure. In the moment, maybe, but yeah, you're avoiding it, no question.
yeah,
So
yeah.
besides those two, those are the big ones, though. Like avoiding things by drinking and sleeping with women.
Mhm.
What else? What other things, or can you think of, that people do that aren't healthy for them in the long run?
Um, I think, like I came up with this phrase, like it's okay to take a stroll down memory lane, but don't camp out there.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
I think what happens a lot, like at least in my own experience, is like, again, like it doesn't have to be an anchor in my home or something. It can be like driving somewhere. One
Yeah,
time I was driving up north to go camping with my kids and drove by the route that I used to take to my ex-girlfriend's house. And it just brought up all these memories. And I started kind of like, again, taking a trip down memory lane and then camped out on a few.
Yep.
And it always starts like, oh, I'm just going to think about the good things. But then it's like, oh, and then on that night, though, this happened and it was bad. And then like, again, I'm right back to like, I'm a piece of shit and I screwed it up. And, so really just being very deliberate about, again, like if you want to think back on a relationship and like kind of pick out like, this was good, this was bad for a very specific reason, I think that's good. I think that's healthy. We learn from our past, we learn from our experiences, but really being deliberate about like just acknowledging like, oh yeah, that happened and moving on. Like, don't allow yourself time to freaking sit there and dwell, because inevitably you can try to think about all the good times, but it's going to lead you back to that bad time. It's going to lead you back to those things that brought you down in the first place. And so, just not camping out in memory lane. Another thing too, especially in today's day and age with social media, don't keep checking up and like seeing, oh, is she posting pictures with a new person? Is she doing this? Is she doing that? Like, that person's out of your life. Like it's done, it's over with. And even if they are moving on, and even if the stars align to where like 6 months from now, you guys are meant to be together, like you're not going to grow from trying to keep tabs on them right now. All that's going to do again is like validate the negative things that you're telling yourself about the situation, or maybe build resentment and animosity. Like, I don't know, my ex chick, she could have been banging somebody the next night. Like if she was, cool, that's her business. If she wasn't, that's her business too. Like it's not mine. When that relationship ended, I lost like all rights, privileges, whatever you want to call it. Like I forfeited that stuff. It's
and vice
not
versa
my
too.
business. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I agree. I think you have to start over, and completely. Your life is different. It's tough. It's a tough thing to face, but the sooner you come to grips with that, I think the sooner and slightly easier it is to then really start moving forward. But you have to acknowledge that's it. That your life is completely different now, especially if there's children and you were together for so long, and maybe you have to move out. There's so much potential for change, and so much change, and it's a completely different life, and you have to embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's just, I mean, that's why it's called moving on, because you have to move on. And we do a great job keeping ourselves stuck in that cycle by like continuing to, again, check in on them, or like ask if you've got mutual friends, like, hey, have you seen her? What's going on with her? Like, it's funny because my ex Danielle, like her and my best bud happen to still be Instagram friends, just because like they're both like low maintenance on deleting people. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit there's been a few times when I've wanted to ask him like, hey, what's she posting? And immediately I recognize that as like, what the heck am I doing? This is a toxic thought. Like, this is just going to drag me back, build up some kind of resentment or bitterness or whatever. And it's just like, don't do it. Period. Like, don't do it.
So
delete
besides
pictures, numbers, everything.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I blocked, I deleted, I just, we have kids, so we have to, but I for a while it was just via email, and which is a little, it's still, you can still easy accessible, but it's not as easy as a text or Facebook Messenger, but still, I stuck to the kids like as much as I could. Sometimes angry shit came out. I ain't gonna lie. But in general,
happens.
Yeah, well, of course, especially if you're the one who's left behind. But in general, I would try to avoid anything about anything really, and to the point where she would complain that I'm not responding about shit I didn't need to respond about. But anyway,
but that's exactly it. Like, you didn't need to respond. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, she can feel however she wants. That's not your responsibility anymore.
Exactly. So besides joining the Alpha Code, which is what we would recommend to anyone going through any of this kind of shit. I want to leave it with just one. I hate to do ones, but I'm going to do it now. Just one solid piece of advice, again, besides joining the Alpha Code, that you would give to anyone going through a tough breakup or a divorce or a separation.
Narrowing it down to one.
Sorry, I'm breaking my own rule.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. That's a tough one. I would say, like, we hit on a lot of stuff, and just kind of piggybacking on some of that stuff. I think I'm big on like internal dialogue.
Yeah.
And and in the Alpha Code, there's a version of this too, but like even before that, I kind of established this thing. If I think a negative thought, like for instance, a negative thought I used to have all the time is I'm a bad father. So that's like one attack telling me that I'm a bad father. I would verbally say like I'm a great father. And what that means to me is that like one, I had to think that I'm a great father. Two, I said it out loud. And three, as I'm talking, I hear myself. So it's like kind of a 3-punch counter, that's how I like to think about it.
Nice.
And that's helped me tremendously. And so I think I would say the biggest thing is to like be so vigilant about that positive self-talk, and like along the lines of things are like, what, relationships are difficult. There's always two people involved. So like, it's never going to be 100% my fault. I have to own my actions, but it's not my fault. So like reminding yourself that, you're not the sole cause, that you're not a horrible person, that you do have worth. And obviously be aware, like if there's stuff you got to work on, don't lie to yourself about it, like fix it, but find the truth about yourself. And I would even go so far as like, I have stuff written down on my mirror right now, all the positive things. Again, I mentioned this twice because like I used to struggle with thinking I was a horrible father, and I just like couldn't win in my head.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I have written on my mirror is that I'm a great father. And I would say that every single day. Like, my, with the Alpha Code, we're reciting that thing every morning, every night. And so I added that to the list for me. And so just finding those things that are like, even if it's something you work on, like at the time I started saying it, maybe I wasn't a great father, but I said it until I believed it. And because I believe it, I'm better at it. You know what I mean? So like finding something like that, I mean, writing down the positive affirmations about yourself, the truths, and speaking those out, like out loud. There's something about speaking and hearing. I don't know, maybe I'm just a weirdo, but like,
no, I
there's so
agree
much power in
100%.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was definitely, I've always kind of leaned that way. Agreed, have a mantra type thing, but certainly Alpha Code solidified it.
Yeah.
When it causes this, this dissonance where it's like, if you're going to say that you're going to start trying to be that.
Yeah.
I think that's
Exactly.
100% accurate. And I agree.
Yeah. And if I could add one little caveat to like this whole, like, I know you asked for one thing, but I think it's important.
No, you're breaking the rules. No, you can
I
have
know,
one
right?
more.
But like the best relationship when we're single was always the last relationship. And it's like, I'm never going to find anybody like her again. Like it was so amazing, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? You're right. You're never going to find that exact person again, unless you go back to that person.
Right.
But what I like to remind myself, and like what I did remind myself of, is that like, I'm going to find somebody that has aspects of what I loved in that person, but they're also going to have their own individual things that make them who they are.
Yeah.
That's going to make them like, it's different, but like the level of how amazing they are can and will be the same. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but it was something that helped me out a lot.
No, I think, well, one of the things that I think about is I can pick, I'm much more conscious of myself, certainly doing some work on myself. I'm more conscious of looking for things, red flags, things that she had, but also the good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What I'm trying to say is you can be selective, but you can select those old qualities as well, the good ones. So, you know what I mean? It can be what you had, but even better, because you're going to hopefully find someone that has only the good qualities that she had, or at least, maybe not all of them, one of them, two of them, all of them,
Exactly.
but not those fucking red flags,
Right. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. And it's like, forgiving too is like, we're all humans. We all make mistakes. So like your ex, my ex, like they're just being human, and they did what they thought was the best thing at the time. And I
that
think
is
that
definitely
helps.
that's a topic for a later episode for sure. And that's one that I absolutely positively struggle with 100%.
Yeah. I get it, man. It's taken me a while to get there.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's not a goal yet, if I'm being honest. Apathy is a goal where I just don't care, and I'm getting closer to that. I mean, maybe ultimately, but I just want to get to apathy first, where I just don't care. I don't care what she says. I don't care what she does. I don't care if she's banging someone else now,
Yeah.
or I'm pretty close to that. But I'm not there yet. And once I get to there, I'll reevaluate. Ultimately, I want to do what's best for me and my children, period.
Yeah.
And if, everyone says that forgiveness is a huge part of it. So I'll get there probably, but I'm in no hurry.
Yeah.
Not yet. Well, thanks,
Well,
brother.
like, I don't know if you saw the video I just recently posted about forgiveness, man, but ultimately, like,
I did not. I seen the title and I thought you were sending that straight to me, but I haven't watched it yet. It's on my to-do list.
The single sentence thing is that, like, when we choose not to forgive somebody, we're only hurting ourselves. We're keeping that baggage for ourselves because they're just doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah, true. It's true. I don't doubt it. And I see the value in it.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not there yet. But I'll get there, but apathy comes first for me anyhow.
No, absolutely, man. We've all got our journeys. We got to walk our paths,
For sure. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the invite, man. It's been awesome. I love having these just like kind of real conversations, man.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Stuff comes out.
Yeah, it's just good to just talk about these things because I think it's so difficult for men to talk about and be honest about some of these things. And I think a lot of us just use the avoidance strategies and never really heal. And that's not good for anybody. And, for our children, for ourselves, for the world, honestly, quite frankly.
It just breeds a ball of shit, man.
Amen. Amen.
Honestly.
Amen. All right, brother. Well, thank you. I will post it. My plan right now is Thanksgiving. I'm going to release the first one, which is just a 12-minute short kind of description. It's like 12 minutes. And then this one, I'm probably not going to edit too much. I'm kind of like you. I just like to be real.
Let it flow.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. And as soon as it's out, I will let you know. And whenever I have the audio file, I guess I'll send it your way. And if you want to post it too, that's totally cool with me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely wait until after you post it. And then also, like, when we do that, send me a link to your podcast or like at least like a name and where to find it so I can plug that in.
I haven't set up the distribution part of it yet. I've just done all like the social media shit, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that shit.
Yeah.
But I got to find whatever service I'm going to use to host it or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any vested interest in it, but I use Buzzsprouts, man. And it's pretty awesome. Like the price is real cheap. Like I think I want to say, depending on the amount of time you use, but I pay like 12 or 15 bucks a month for
that's not bad.
2 hours. But then I just recently bought an extra 6 hours for like 12 bucks. And those hours carry over, like the ones that I purchased.
Oh, okay. So you can purchase blocks of hours. Like, so if I do like, I don't know, buy 12 hours and I have like a 12-hour podcast, like, can I buy like 6 more, 8 more, 4 more? Is it?
I forget exactly what the packages are, but man, you can buy extra time, and it's it resets, like your subscription resets every month, and then the extra blocks they just carry over. Like, those are yours in the bank. So
all right, well, I'll check it out. Yeah, because I haven't looked at any of that stuff yet. I did a course, not a course. It was like a webinar on podcasting, and she named a bunch of stuff, but I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. So it's on my to-do list.
There's some good stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
And, if there's any issues with the audio, let me know and we'll make time to like redo it. Cause I know sometimes it's a little jacked up. I usually don't worry too much though.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Believe me, I'll listen to it. I'm not, like I said, I try not to edit too much, but I got to do the intro and put the outro and I got to do all that good stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely.
All that fun stuff. So, all right, brother. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. Same here. So have a good night and I'll be in touch, bro.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
Later. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.